everyone, Miss Andrea here. I'm here today to teach you how to make some salt dough. Also, I'm going to give you maybe a little tips on how to get some colored salt dough. So before I get started on making the actual salt dough with flour and salt and some water, I'm going to first start by making the dye for our salt dough, which is, today I have matcha green tea. You can also use red cabbage to make a nice purple color. You can use coffee to make brown. You can use turmeric powder to make a yellow color. But today I have the green tea, so I'm going to use that. I will add a link with this video of some other dye options so you can kind of get into a whole experimental thing with dyes if you so choose. You can also just use plain color dye like that you'd use for baking. So I'm going to use boiling water. So make sure if you're boiling anything at home or using hot liquids to always have an adult nearby for help. And I'm going to use a half cup of water. And I'm just going to take a spoonful and just kind of add a few spoonfuls in at a time, and kind of maybe 2 spoonfuls. Try that and see what kind of color we get with that. And make sure you stir it up. Now, this is a tea, so teas especially, you want to usually let sit for about 5 minutes. Also, because you're going to be handling the water in the mixture of the salt dough, you want to make sure it really sits and cools so you don't burn yourself or hurt yourself. So I'm going to stir this up, really mix in the tea into the water. I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes and a bit longer than that, probably I would say maybe 15-20 minutes to make sure it's really nice and cooled down before I use it for the salt dough recipe. So I will see you back here in about 20 minutes. Hello friends, I'm back. And Shiva's joining us now. This is my cat Shiva. He has a sister named Shakti. So who knows, maybe we'll see Shakti too. So I made the tea, I let it sit, and it's cooled down so I can handle it. Safe to handle. If I were to make salt dough without any dye, I would use just warm tap water instead. Or if I wanted to add the dye, like a baking dye, I would just add it to the water and mix it in that, and then add it to the whole mixture. So I have my dye, I have my flour, my salt, and now we can get to the good stuff. So first we're going to add in a cup of flour. Make sure that's nice, evened out. Shiva likes it when I cook. He thinks it's his time to play and hang out. Okay, so I got my cup of flour. I'm going to get half cup of salt. Make sure I get it up to that half line mark. Add that in. That's when I have all my dry ingredients together in the bowl, my flour and my salt. I'm going to stir that up to make sure that's all mixed together. So because there's salt in this recipe, it is helpful to have a warm liquid to mix in with it to help kind of dissolve the salt a little bit. But once again, you want to make sure that it's a safe temperature because you're going to be eventually at one point mixing it in with your hands. Okay, so that's all nice and mixed up. Now I'm going to add my green tea dye. I'm going to add just a little bit at a time and stir it in. If I added all my water all at once, it might become too waterlogged. And if that happens, it's okay. You can just add more flour, and you'll just end up getting more salt dough.
Hello. So I've mixed together the dough a little bit more, and once blended, it gets when all the flour and the salt has mixed together. I'm going to pull it out of the bowl and start kneading it on the counter. I'm going to knead the salt dough until it's nice and smooth and everything's well combined. So you just knead it just like any other kind of dough that you might bake. And once when it gets nice and smooth like this, you're ready to start creating. So I was thinking today, since I have this nice green color, I might make a salamander, because salamanders are some of the first amphibians that come out in the springtime. They come out when the first spring rains really start coming down, and they gather in ponds and streams to mate. So I'm going to start by first starting at the head, now moving on to the body. And when you combine the body parts, if you're making an animal or whenever you're making anything, you want to really make sure that you smooth together all the pieces. It's just like sculpty clay, because if you don't make sure it's really connected, it's going to break off if you do decide to let it sit and harden. So with salt dough, if you make creation and you want to keep it, you can set the oven to 270 and bake it for about 1 hour to 2 hours. It really depends on how thick your creation is. If you want to keep the salt dough and pull it out for just kind of fun creations, it stays best if you put it in a closed Tupperware or a Ziploc baggie, and it stays even longer if you keep it in the fridge. So if you do all that, it will stay for about a week before it gets all dried up. So let's see here. Add some limbs. Fun fact, salamanders can lose their tails and regrow them. So if a snake or another predator's after them and gets their tail, they'll actually separate themselves from their tail and regrow a new one, which is kind of cool. Hopefully my salamander will keep his tail in the oven. Okay. So when you're all done with your creation, you can get a baking pan. I have this really great stick-free mat that's meant for baking. You can also use parchment paper or wax paper, or even oil the pan, just anything like you'd usually do when baking anything. And like I said, I'm going to put this in the oven at 270 for about an hour, anywhere between 1 hour to 2 hours. So I hope you all have fun with this. Send us pictures of their creations. We'd love to see them. I hope everyone stays happy, healthy, and safe. Take care.